and everything we've got. So I was just wondering, because when we start talking dimensions, I sort of wanted to talk about that tonight because of the Ascension Age making us aware of the tree of life and the 13 above and the 9 below, and that's 22 right there, right? And then we've got the Kabbalah, and since you're in Jerusalem, I imagine you do tarot reading. Do you by chance the cards? I do. I just wonder if you use them.
I don't.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, everybody has different tools they use and different world religions, but many of us blend them together for whatever reason. So, well, when you talk dimensions, then how do you do readings by chance? I didn't even ask you if you did readings.
I don't. I'm an activator of humanity. I teach people how to get their own access to the dimensions, for instance. Yeah. I don't do. The only time I ever do kind of a little mini reading is when I have clients. I ask them if they know their soul purpose, and if they don't, I ask them if they want me to read their soul colors, which I've been doing since I lived in Dominican Republic. I was living on that Bermuda Triangle ley line there.
Yeah.
And it was very, very powerful. I was very, very psychic there, as I always am when I'm living on a portal, and everyone is when they're living on portals. But so that's the only time when I ask people if they want to, if they want their soul colors read. The colors of our soul have meaning, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the people that read them, but nowadays everything is readable. It just depends on who you ask, I guess, and what their skills and labors. But they say we all have the same skills. But I like some of the tools. You did talk about Reiki, and my daughter calls it Rikai. She insists because she learned it from she learned that word from the Buddhist in Arizona when she went up to a monastery. They taught her it was Rikai, not Reiki. And some say Reiki. But, yeah, it just depends on who you learned. I learned from a lady from Japan, and she brought it over, Janet, when we were there, 89 to 94. But she was still alive, and her daughter. So it was pretty cool. We learned laying on of hands, basically, and the various ways you could, use Reiki. And then, of course, she used a lot of the techniques from the old school that I don't even know who she said she learned from, but once it got into America and through Japan into Hawaii, and then over here it got really popular during our New Age group, right, before Ascension Age, before 2012. It was really brilliant.
1980. Hawaii Takata, who was third in line from Usui, the founder of Reiki, or modern-day Reiki. Reiki just means universal energy, right?
Yeah.
Which we're all comprised of, but we can learn to channel it powerfully to, transfer it to someone else to facilitate healing. And so Takata came, I believe it was around 74, 75 when she came to America, to the U.S., and she began teaching and also facilitating for Reiki master classes, teaching teachers how to teach. And so yes, it's expanded from there. And I'm seventh in line from the founder.
I have a question about
it meant laying on of hands, alternative medicine. But did you?
It's a wonderful tool.
Well, Mikao Usui was the one that a lot of the people learned from 1865, right? But I don't know, I can't remember the lady's name. I know her face, and I've put her in some of my commercials in the past for Reiki. But I swear to God, I cannot remember the name. It went into, there was American Academy of Neurology, I know, and this is important because so many people do believe spiritually that they heal. And I think what we do traditionally, but, it got to be sort of paranormal, too. I believe it's still called an alternative medicine or a pseudoscience. But, in cancer, with my daughter having leukemia, she got into Reiki, and Greg Braden, too, about the same time. But Reiki masters. And do you say Reiki, or what do you say? Some say I guess
say
Reiki.
I've never heard it. Rika. You said Rika. I've not ever heard that before.
I hadn't
it doesn't matter.
It's from Buddha.
I've had Japanese guests when I had my retreat center that stayed with me for a week, and I asked them about Reiki. They didn't correct me, so I don't know.
I
don't know where Rika come from.
Whatever.
Hey, I have a question. Can I ask this question? I was looking over what you wrote, and you talked about the 13 grandmothers of time. Can you explain to me what that means? What are they?
Yes.
Absolutely. Tell us about that.
We have the 13 heaven dimensions.
I'd love to. The 13 spirit grandmothers of time are ancient adepts that birthed the earth at the Permian era when the continents first split apart. And I determined that to be about 300 million years ago, somewhere in that time frame. And the 13 spirit grandmothers came through to an acquaintance of mine in Quebec in 2003, and they gave her teachings. She was a First Nations woman, Ojibwe, and she wrote down a lot of information as they shared it with her about initiations humans must go through to evolve, to ascend. She also talked about the 13 spirit grandmothers and what shields they carried and how they needed to contact human women because it was time then for them to come through. And they said it was very difficult for them to come into this dimension because they're 12th dimensional beings, which, I consider 13th to be God creator, great spirit level, and then 14th source. That's the dimensional framework that I use. So they're just below creator level of their level of a consciousness. And so I see them not very clearly, but I see them kind of in a hazy light and get a general idea of how they look. And since I was asked to carry a shield with a ceremony in 2004 to bring their teachings and to bring them into the earth dimension, and we were to ground them into the earth, all the teachings. And since 2004, I've been connected with the spirit grandmothers. And they come from different stars and different planets in our solar system. And some of them do not look human. One looks kind of turtle-like, and one looks kind of like a combination of monkey kind of ape, but not like that, but has 3 digits on her hands and on her feet. She's Arcturian, for instance. The Palladian grandmother looks very white. In the moon that we're in now, this is the 13th or the last moon of the year that the grandmothers say. And in this moon, it's the Moose Clan grandmother shield that is prevalent. And it's a peace shield. And she sits at the center of the circle where the staff is, or the center pole of this circle of the spirit grandmothers. There's also 13 spirit grandfathers of time, and they will be able to bring in their teachings when enough women take their places on planet Earth that they're meant to have. So very, very interesting to carry that shield. I was given the Lizard Clan shield, and the Lizard Clan shield represents pre-consciousness, which is interesting because I got that shield at the time when I was seriously researching the goddess and having experiences of that dimension. And also genetic memories and crystals and the consciousness of crystals. And so since that time, I've been working more with crystals and healing, and just for my own connection to my star and to other star beings and so forth. And I really feel honored to be part of this shield carrier and of this spirit grandmother clan. And love to teach about them and what they taught us through various sessions. Through Patricia Collerford is the individual who they first contacted, and they asked us to do ceremony each time at the new moon, and that the new moon was always in the beginning of their time, was only to be practiced by women. And I know we've had a lot of patriarchal societies since then, and I think our most recent one probably 5,000 years ago, but where the patriarchy has been taking over our matrilineal sacred sites and also a lot of our ceremonies. But the spirit grandmothers stressed greatly that we gather as women on the new moon and, get down belly to belly with Mother Earth, and to bring forth the new light that comes through every new moon. We're the birthers of the new energies that come through. So this was stressed very often in our ceremony that we did in 2004. Any questions?
Yeah. Let's see. Where do we want to go? We have about a half an hour left.
In every religion they have 13 and 9, and we use it in the Kabbalah, and we use it in tarot cards. In the Aztecs, Janet, all the Indians believed in the 13 heavens, the 9 underworlds, and the tree of life, and all those above. It was inverted. So the 13 is a very sacred number, and then, we have the various levels. So whether it was 13 heavens, 13 grandmothers of the cosmos, and the original, as moon goddess was number 1 at 13. But, it depends. So it's important to know these things, because they do say that, we came from the stars and the 13 heavens, and how all the world religions are so similar. Back in the day before we even had the Bible. So, people go back to the stars, and then we have the Council of the 13 in the various Indians, not just Aztec mythology. But are you familiar with all of that, Janet, with the different gods? It's just different, but it's basically 13 heavens, 13 9 unders, 22, and how everything's constructed in 13 levels, and we have 13 dimensions. But isn't it funny how we use numbers? Yeah, they said
we originally had 13, what do you call it?
Levels or dimensions in the beginning. God.
The astrology, what are they? 13 signs, but somehow one got lost, and that's part of the control of the sacred ancient teachings. But
Milky Way too.
Enki used to take his son Marduk to the moon, and they were trying to figure out the astrology. So they tried to figure out the return to Biru. So they created astrology and the different signs of the heavens to kind of measure time and when it was time to trade, who was going to be the king or the ruler of the earth. And so Marduk kept waiting for his turn. It's like, when's my turn? When's my turn? So his turn was, always overlooked, and they kept pushing it back. And, oh, no, not yet, not yet. So that's what they ended up having the war between Ishtar Inanna and Marduk Ra. So Ishtar Inanna is one of the most important people in history. And she went a little bit bonkers, but so did Marduk Ra. There was some kind of influence of this planet and all of its, influence that created a temporary insanity. So they had this big war, which ended in Sodom and Gomorrah, and almost wiped everybody off the face of the earth, Anunnaki and human alike. But it really, depopulated humanity.
It was a war.
It was nuclear, yes. Mm-hmm.
It was a nuclear war. I experienced a vision of that while I was meditating at the Dead Sea. That annihilated.
You got in touch with that.
All life there. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So they nuked ancient modern tools.
Yeah, and the gods,
they nuked Inanna's territory. There were a lot of things over there in India. So Inanna was granted the Indus Valley. So she So there's nuclear ruins there too. And then, of course, that's why